Part 55. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 541. Obviously he is also working for Oreki Houtarou, but the other party also goes out of his way to extort money. This is very inappropriate, isn't it? Actually, I came here with a plan, Oreki-san said. You also know that after getting off the boat, the price of the supplies on the uninhabited island will be doubled. Then, why not do something about this, Oreki said. Are you making a fuss about supplies? Do you mean, Japan? Ryuan reacted. You will definitely be a profiteer in the future, Long Yuan said. Because Houtarou Oreki meant to let Ryuan stockpile supplies and then sell them on the island. Similar to last year's uninhabited island, sacrificing one class's material points and then supporting another class. But now, Oreki's method is even more extreme, sacrificing the first-year students. That's right. This time the exam is for all grades, but since first graders can form teams of 4 from the beginning, it is a convenience for first graders. Therefore, even among the 8 random cards, the first graders were given relatively decent preferential treatment. In addition to free rides and additional cards, there are also many leading cards that can multiply the initial material points by 1.5 times. And this also means that first-year students have more material points in their hands than other grades. So what he needs is to gather the first-year students' abundant material points and exchange them for materials. Then take it to the island to earn the difference. Of course, he is not the school administrator, so he cannot get material points for selling supplies, but he can sell them directly for money. Let them write an IOU on the spot. It's indeed a good plan. As a result, the two parties signed an agreement. However, Oreki-san is very gentle. He did not take any shares, but only gave himself and the members of the student council the opportunity to have sex for free. As long as there is a shortage of supplies on the island, he or a member of the student union can go to Longjayuan's sales point for free supplies. In this way, be prepared before the exam. And because some students collected a large amount of supplies, they were also reported to Principal Yu Cheng. Principal Yu Cheng was staying with the head teacher of Class D, first grade, and he said to Sima Dion, "See, these students can always come up with new tricks for me. So you have to prepare some funds to deal with it." Mr. Tsukishiro looked very pleased with himself. Soon, the ship reached the edge of the uninhabited island, and as the last preparation before the exam, students with the hitchhiking prop card will make bets. Chapter 247 Nagamo, I want to bet on Oreki Houtarou. That guy is poisonous every time. Use prop cards. If it is a leading prop card, then when each student is distributed 5,000 points of material points, it will automatically be increased by x 1.5 times. Other prop cards, such as add half invalid trial, are used when the exam is about to end. Insurance and additional personnel are used during the examination process. Only hitchhiking needs to be used before the exam starts. The specific operation is: in half an hour, we will arrive at the uninhabited island. At that time, students will be arranged to take boats to their respective initial areas in the order of first grade, second grade, and third grade. From now until 9:55, students who have a ride-along prop card can open the OAA data system on their iPad and select the ride-along prop card. After clicking it, they can see a total of 150 groups. To select is to bet. Note that once selected, it cannot be changed. An announcement came from the ship. Oreki-san, Horikita-san, and Kushida-san were all in his room. He used the points to contract a separate room as a small stronghold. Everyone's mobile phones have not been confiscated, so you can contact us via mobile phone. After the operation is completed, students take photos with their mobile phones and send them to Kushida. 1, 2. All 20 people have made a complete choice. Everyone has chosen Juyuanji's solo group. Kusita was doing the registration work. Then just wait to collect the money, Oreki-san said. Yeah, Kusita-san nodded. She is still interested in making money. After all, if she doesn't think about anything else, she has to think about her own future. And she also received a group message from Hiyori's classmates. As long as they are members of the student union, after going to the island, they can go to the Ryuan stronghold next to the school supply point for free supplies. In other words, the most difficult problem to deal with, the lack of supplies for survival in the wild, has also been solved. So, whoever wants to take this tough exam can take it. Sure enough, I had my back against a big tree to enjoy the shade. Oreki-san's bet is gentler, while Ryuan's bet is more brutal. He gathered most of the students in Class D of the first grade. Now, whoever got the free ride card and additional card, place your bet on me. The bet is on Rokusuk Kojinji's solo group. Don't think about disobeying orders or committing fraud. I will keep an eye on them all Long Yuan said. This is quite an inhumane plan, but this kind of thing will not cause problems in his Class C, and here in the first year Class D, of course it will not cause problems. The only thing that appeared was the despair among the first year Class D students. He obviously came to the new school with high hopes, but he was violently controlled by Baoquan as soon as he entered the school. After that, his class evaluation score dropped to 0. There is no living expenses. But now, it seems that the opportunity to make some money has been deprived by Senior Ryuan. Don't be reluctant. I can guarantee that when you return to school, everyone will have at least 100,000 points in their hands. 100,000. Also, you four, be prepared. When I ask you to abstain, you will abstain. Ryuan walked over to the 4 boys from Class D, first grade. They are also solo, but only 3 of the 4 are equipped with invalid cards, and 1 is carrying a half-item card. The 3 people with invalid cards were arranged by Long Yuan to be at the bottom of this exam, directly occupying the bottom 3 places who will be expelled and have points deducted. Students with have prop cards are placed 4th or 5th from the bottom. Long Yuan will be responsible for the portion that is not enough to pay the penalty of expulsion. It is said that the second-year students also had an invalid card, which will occupy the remaining spot in the bottom 5 groups. This ensures that other students can safely pass the exam. Will not be dropped out of school. Can be considered lucky. After all, just listening to Mr. Mashima, the homeroom teacher of Class A of the second grade, announce that basic movement is similar to spending nearly 8 hours a day rushing back and forth on the island to sign in. It is really torture. Not to mention there is the subject. For example, the question, clothes that shows the distance is really weird, okay. Who wants to do the questions when they are trying to survive? Once done, there are still 30 reading comprehension articles. So now everyone who gets Ryuan Senpai can get 100,000 points, which is a bit of comfort. I just don't know if it's at least 100,000 yuan, or if it's just 100,000 yuan at this time, a girl from Class D, Grade 1, said. Do you have any opinions? Nanace Ryuan looked over. No, Nanace Tsubasa said. Ryuan inherited Baoquan's property and gained control of Class D, the first grade. And she will not give in to violence, but she also does not deny that the use of violence can bring a certain order. Otherwise, for exams like this, classmates may still be at a loss as to what to do or even feel uneasy. When Ryuan Senpai is collecting material points from first-year students, they need to be on the small island. She didn't refuse. But she also had no expenses. She kept her supply points. According to the rules, the GPS positioning function will be enabled on the 6th day, but material points are required for payment. And she has to use GPS positioning for a long time. Therefore, I kept my material points and at the same time obtained basic materials from Senior Ryuan. This is also a reassuring point. In this way, The ride-along bet for first graders is also over. Then the pressure comes to the third grade. If Ryuan can control a class, then Nagayun can control a grade. He used Oreki's plan to make money from the school. If he has been worried that his plan to control the entire grade will be blocked by the school, then he may encounter resistance from the school. But since both the first year and second year students are making money, it would be unreasonable to target him. So he's kind of taking a ride. Therefore, he directly arranged for students with ride-hailing and additional prop cards to choose only on the selected object. Why not Kojinji Rokusuke? Kiriyama said. He has already received messages from the two classmates in Class B who sold their places. The message they received from Kushida-senpai was that they bet on Rokusuke Kojinji. But Nagamo Masaru ordered others to bet on Oreki Houtarou's solo group. I believe Oreki is a ghost, Nagayunya said. I suffered so much from him. It would be most foolish to believe him. That is to say, he asked me to bet on Kojinji. It was false news. The team that will really win the first place is himself, Nanyun explained. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 542. Do you think Oreki is number one? Kiriyama said. That's right. How much do you know about Houtarou Oreki? Nagamo said. I have dealt with him the most, and I think his strength is close to or even better than Horikita-senpai. Horikita-senpai, also known as Horikita Manabu, is a very outstanding person in this school. As a member selected by the other party to join the student council, Kiriyama knew it very well. At the same time, even if I don't believe in Oreki, I still believe in Horikita-senpai's vision. He has wanted to recruit Oreki Houtarou into the student council very early on. Kiriyama also knows this. And with this understanding, he also felt that if he wanted to place a bet, Oreki Houtarou would have a higher chance of winning. And as you can see, Sakayanagi Yuzu is also here. As the boyfriend of the student council president, there is no way he can behave badly. Especially in front of my girlfriend. So Nanyun said. The bet is on Oreki Houtarou's solo. I see. Kiriyama nodded. This is indeed possible, because if Nanyun bets correctly, he will receive a huge reward of 18x 2.12 million. But Oreki just asked for that little bit, which was obviously impossible. After all, in last year's forest exam, it was said that he took away a full 100 million from class A of the third grade. Very brutal. Therefore, Oreki deliberately revealed to Nagamo the bet on the number 1 spot at Kojinji Temple, which may be confusing information. Although Kojinji was indeed very strong, it was Houtarou Oreki who won in the end. Then it can effectively limit Nanyun's ability to obtain huge points. If the huge number of points obtained by Nanyun is reduced, then the probability that he can get Nanyun's 10 million will also decrease. This is not a good thing. So, having the ride-along item card, he also chose to bet on Oreki Houtarou solo. 10 minutes of bets are left for students who hitchhiked with prop cards. As the examiner, Yu Cheng also received news that the students had completed their bets. Only Yu Cheng found that the 3 class teachers from the first, second, and even third grades came to him on their own initiative, and hoped to replace their responsibility for the subject to others. This is very strange. Because 5-15 topics will be refreshed a day and last for 2 weeks, all teachers need to participate. Even Yu Cheng himself was responsible for 2 courses. As a result, the work schedule has been arranged, but you 3 head teachers asked to change it. Although this school puts strength first, the teachers also put strength first, which can be seen from the salary. The students and teachers in class A are all superior. This is how schools are configured to allow them to compete. But it would be too much for you 3 head teachers of Class A to skip class. It's not that we want to be lazy, said Mr. Mashima, the homeroom teacher of 2nd grade class A. It's that we need to take a break from what we're doing now. We need to follow you, Principal Tsukijo, Majima said. And we also hope that Principal Yu Chang will withdraw from the 2 projects you are responsible for. Yes, the head teacher of class A, grade 3, also nodded. Yueshin. What does it mean? Was he being targeted by them? There are no teachers from the 3 classes of Class A among the staff of Yueshin Corrosion, so they are so targeted. In other words, his move to force the Bifang students in was discovered. But the people on the council also know this. And he also attracted sponsorship, and the council turned a blind eye. There is even some interest in hoping that Bifang Sheng can become a sparring partner for the students. What a stupid idea. However, although Yu Cheng laughed at them, the 2 sides were not enemies. It's just that their actions were like being on guard against him. Could it be that Sima Dian had been coming to his side and was suspected? Yes. Although Sima Dian is the head teacher of Class D in the 1st grade, he did not come in officially. Instead, he used his power for personal gain and even obtained the identity of the head teacher of Class D in the 1st grade. The other party, like him, is a subordinate of Mr. Ayanokaji. So I came here to help drop out Ayanokaji Kiyotaka. And is this kind of thing suspected? The bet on the ride-along item card is over. Because the result of the bet has been confirmed, our 3 class teachers need to stop Mr. Tsuki City from interfering in the exam. Yueshin. Ha? What does it mean? Does it cost more points? Sima Dian, who often remains silent in front of other teachers, said. Principal Yu Chang said that he has prepared 20 million points as a subsidy. Of course Yu Chang said this. It's probably because of this, said Mr. Majima, the homeroom teacher of 2nd grade class A. The students found a new solution for this exam in order to prevent Principal Yu Chang from interfering with it. It's even vandalism. 3 of our homeroom teachers decided to spy on Principal Yu Chang. Yueshin. Day. This time the uninhabited island exam is actually what Sima Dian said, children are unreliable and adults must be admitted. And Tsukijo, since he has an insight into Mr. Ayanokaji's thoughts, of course he doesn't want to go all out. So I just hope to see Sima Dian taste the consequences of defeat, and then help him share the punishment of unfavorable mission. What happened now? Don't tell me, Principal Yu Chang said. Am I going to lose a lot of money on this bet? Not just 20 million, but 50 million. No, but Yueshin rejected this as soon as he said it. Because if it was only 50 million, then there would be no need for 3 head teachers to keep an eye on him. Stare at him like he's going to cause trouble knowing the outcome. So how many million would it take for him to disregard his face? 80 million, is indeed a terrifying number, Yu Chang said. He investigated the school's rules and found that the school spent a total of more than 80 million points on last year's uninhabited island and preferential treatment test. So this value is scary enough. Even the council confirmed the amount several times. So this point is already what he thinks can make teachers take action. But the amount of the bet alone, once the students bet correctly, you will lose 129.32 million points. Add all other aspects together, then the total is close to 150 million points, teacher Mashima from class A of the 2nd grade said. Because the amount is huge, we are worried that you will go astray. Or are you saying, Principal Yu Chang, that you are big enough to pay 150 million without frowning? Grass. Yu Chang, who was very well-mannered and had a business smile, couldn't help but cursed at this time. Chapter 248, The Uninhabited Island Exam begins, Solo. It has been some time since Tsukijo came to Kokokasei High School. Among them, some faculty members have also been corrupted through authority, power, and even money. However, while working here, he also found that some teachers in this school are quite reliable. Especially the head teacher. When he chose higher exam rules and set more punishments for dropping out of school, the teachers actually united to fight him. But he had to do this in order to drop out of school. Ayanokaji Kiyotaka. You have to show that you work hard. But the first year student actually knew about the ride-along and additional item cards. But it's a way to increase the reward for your bets. He didn't take it to heart at the time. But now, Principal Tsukijo only wanted to use foul language. 32 first-year students took a ride and additional cards to bet on Kojinji solo group. 20 second-year students take a ride and additional cards to bet on Kojinji solo group. 2 third-graders take a ride and additional cards to bet on Kojinji solo group. And 18 third-graders took a ride and added cards to bet on Oreki Houtarou solo group. As for Kojinji, Tsukijo still has some information. The other party is the only son of the Kojinji Chable. He is a natural genius. He is excellent in all aspects, but he is used to living alone. It is said that he performed extremely well in the uninhabited island exam last year. So it seems right to bet on him. And Oreki Houtarou is also a betting target. Oreki Houtarou is the richest person in the school, and it is said that last year's sports festival and former student council president Horikita Manabu created a new era for the school. And if the students bet correctly, Kojinji won first place, and Oreki Houtarou won second place, then 2.12 million. Isn't that the amount? Then what are you going to do now? Sima Dion said. Now 3 head teachers were guarding outside Yu Cheng's room, while Sima Dion was still inside. At first, he just heard that Yu Cheng had prepared 20 million points for a rainy day and thought that the other party was a little overly cautious. Result: this school is very strange. Are you so hungry for money? I'm probably unable to move due to the restrictions here, so you have to move on your own from now on, Yu Cheng said. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 543. Sima Dion. Although I feel that Yu Cheng's absence may become less thorough. But for now, Yu Cheng has been targeted by 3 head teachers of Class A. Unless Yu Cheng directly fights with the school, there will be no way to support him. It's just that he is already an adult. No problem, I will take care of Ayanokaji Kiyotaka on the last day of the exam, Simakori said. Although I thought that if Iora disobeyed, I could ask Amasawa to cooperate. However, children are children after all, and it is better for adults like him to come on stage at this time. And students are ready. Each student carries paid-for daily necessities, tablets, chargers, and monitoring bracelets. Then follow the itinerary to the boats at different starting points and prepare to start from there. Of course, there is also a unique site. After the teachers got off the boat, they set up a material point in the D6 area at the mouth of the coast, which is also called the starting point. Students can go here to purchase supplies and get some free items. At the same time, tablets can also be charged for free here or at subject points. But the price of supplies has doubled. This is what needs attention. Only. Unlike the faculty and staff transporting supplies there is a unique scenery. That was Ryuan Sho, a second-year Class C student, instructing his classmates and first-year Class D students to carry a large amount of supplies there. Wherever the school's supply tent is placed, they place their own supply tent next door. Teachers already know that some students have collected a large number of points, bought supplies on the ship, and then prepared to earn the difference on the island. This is a business. This made the teachers who were looking after the supplies look a bit suspicious. The cultivation of high schools is an important project of government financial expenditure, and some hope that it can be cultivated to save the current bad situation. Therefore, the entry selection of teachers is also very harsh. Some of the teachers are even students from this school. And these teachers couldn't help but sigh when they saw Long Yuan and the others' operations. Because if they had been so flexible before, then even if they didn't graduate as Class A, they would still have some leverage in their future lives. Oreki-san is also preparing to disembark. The starting point he was assigned was a 6. However, the boat was being used by first graders, so we had to wait a little longer. The first grade students got the first opportunity to go to the island. However, since there are 12 itineraries in total, it is not a big loss even if the senior class starts later. Next to Oreki-san was a girl with straight black hair. This is Horikita Susan from 2nd year Class D. Her brother is the former student council president. Although he was assigned to Class D, well, at least he has good looks and is also a representative of Class D. Coupled with Kushita's great operations, he also has a certain popularity in the class. However, it was discovered that she was often seen with Houtarou Oreki from Class A. And almost everyone in the school knew that President Sakayanagi had a high-profile relationship with his classmate Oreki. So, Horikita-san, don't you think it would be rude for you to touch Oreki-san? Only Horikita-san's unique coldness and inhumanity make people think that maybe there is such a thing as friends of the opposite sex in the world. Because what Horikita-san and Oreki-san are discussing now is also about the exam. My starting point is a 6, Oreki said. My starting point is B2, Lingyan said. It seems that our schedules are different. Then we can only meet occasionally during exams, Oreki-san said. You can take this exam as hard as you can, and then see your limits. Looking at my own limits instead of following you. This is really confident, Horikita said. A little bit unconvinced. Only. She also knew the physical ability of the man in front of her. Therefore, as long as the opponent's power is fully activated, even if he does not participate in the task, he can still make a net profit of 33-44 points every day. I am afraid that only a savage like Yuanji can parry it. And Kojinji was regarded as the unofficial number 1 by Oreki, and he placed a bet on it. So Oreki probably knows how to fish. But at this time, there seemed to be some commotion in the direction of the 3rd grade. You can vaguely hear Kiriyama, you traitor. Betrayed us. Agiwara, you've gone too far, or something like that. Looking from a distance, you will find students from Class B of the 3rd grade gathered together. But Horikita-san beside Oreki was more practical. She directly picked up the tablet and started checking the information. Data from 3rd graders is now also collected on the tablet. After comparison, the information about the commotion of the students was immediately confirmed. The person being surrounded is a student named Ajihara from Class B of the 3rd grade. His abilities are average. But Horikita Susan frowned slightly. Because Ajihara actually asked his class teacher when the exam started if he abstained at the beginning of the exam, whether he would be in last place. Or should we say that according to the basic movement penalty, if you never go to the designated area, and then receive continuous points deductions, you will be the last one. The school will also consider your situation, the head teacher replied. Once you abandon the exam, your score will be judged as 0 points. And if points are deducted continuously by basic movement during the exam, there will be no negative points until the points are deducted to 0. If you end the exam in this state, you will get 0 points. But if you choose to give up the exam at the beginning, you will undoubtedly lose more points for your attitude. So, those who give up the exam are the last ones, the class teacher said. In this way. After clearly hearing such a reply, the classmate named Ajihara continued to ask. What if others give up too? So am I last? If more than one person abandons the exam before the exam starts, the final ranking will be determined in the order of those who abandoned the exam. In this way, after receiving such a reply, the 3rd grade Class B student named Ajihara chose to abandon the exam. got the last place with the fastest speed. Not only will they be punished by being expelled from school, but the class will also have to pay the first place class evaluation points. The first place class evaluation score can get 300 points, but if the first place carries trial, then under the effect of trial, the class evaluation points that third grade class B has to pay for Aguilera is 300 x 1.5 equal 450 points. Such a span can crush almost all the ambitions of Class B in the third grade. That's why this situation emerged. It seems that he still had ambitions to get promoted to A, but he was undermined by his classmates. So some students were hysterical. Ajihara-san, on the other hand, looked like a dead pig who was not afraid of boiling water. What a farce, Horikita Susan said. After seeing the excitement, how do you think we should solve the current situation? Oreki-san said. Are you testing me? Absolutely, Oreki said. Looking at this scene, Oreki-san can think of at least 3 solutions. So does Ms. Horikita have any ideas? Kiriyama-senpai is a third-year student in Class B and the vice president of the student council. Although the third-year students obey Nagamo Miyabi, Kiriyama's class used to be Class A. They were defeated by Nagamo and became Class B. But there are still people who don't want to give up, so they hope to regain their advantage in this uninhabited island exam. And now it was destroyed by a student named Aguilera from Class B of the third grade. Nagamo must have discovered their actions and bribed them in advance. Although there is a traitor in the class. But it's not impossible to solve it, Susan said. Aguilera is a solo player. But there is an additional member in the prop card, so if you can use the additional member to force a team with Aguilera, then even if Aguilera abstains or fails, as long as there are team members, the exam will still be keep going. In other words, Sister Horikita is trying to struggle and use rescue measures. And another plan, Horikita continued. More directly. For example, since Aguilera has been bribed, then spend double the amount to bribe Aguilera to change his mind. Saying this, she looked at Oreki-san. He seemed to be waiting for his reply. Your plan can be used, but there are restrictions. First of all, Aguilera has abstained from voting, and his class teacher has already reported it via mobile phone. So at this time, whether Aguilera can be selected for additional staff needs to be judged by the school. There is a possibility of being rejected by the school. Similarly, Aguilera has already abstained from voting, so it is not realistic to use double the points to buy it. Moreover, all the third-year points have been used to open a store, and everyone is in debt, so they can't raise the money, Oreki said. Then, Susan said, what is your plan? Can it solve the current situation? Yes, Oreki said. Tongshan is a student in Class B of the third grade, and he was originally a student of Class A. Students in this school are all specially selected. And as a student of Class A who has the pride of Class A, why does Kiriyama listen to Nagamo so much? Although Nagamo can provide him with points, if his class is strong enough, he can also get this share of points. You mean? Sister Horikita frowned. Remember the preferential treatment test last year? I said that Ryuan will not cooperate with others. Only by letting him fail once will he understand that this path will not work. So, I speculate that there is someone in Class B of the third grade who can turn the situation around, and it is because this person who can turn the situation around refuses to work at all that he is so desperate and keeps turning against Nagamo, Oreki said. Is that so? Horikita then started to click on the information of the students in Class B of the third grade. Prepare to look for this person who makes Kiriyama-senpai despair. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 544. But Oreki-san suddenly looked in one direction. There was a senior standing in that direction. I said, this third-year senior, are you really not doing anything? Oreki said. You guys are quite interesting. The third-year senior smiled. The other party has long silver-white hair and an eclectic temperament. And that aura of solitary freedom that is very similar to Kojinjiro Kusuke. I actually have a solution to the situation just now, she said. And this sound suddenly attracted the attention of the students in Class B, Grade 3. That means I get first place. If I do a solo and win first place, wouldn't it be fine even if Aguilera comes in last, she said. Everyone reacted instantly. Yes. If Class B of the 3rd grade gets first place and Aguilera comes last, then the punishment and reward will be 0 for negative or positive. It can be eliminated. As long as they don't lose so many points, then, Grade 3 Class B still has a chance. But why should I do this, the senior said. It's rare to come to the island. I want to enjoy my wildlife. I haven't had many opportunities to camp in the wild. In other words, the so-called interests of the class are not as good as one's own freedom. Okay. Almost instantly, I understood why Kiriyama-senpai often felt hopeless. Chapter 249 So who is your true love? Kiriyuin Kaedeka belongs to 2nd year Class B, but she used to be admitted according to the standards of Class A, so even if she falls to Class B, her basic accessories are still very strong. On the OAA system, her panel looks like this. Academic ability, A+. Intelligence, B+. Class contribution, E. Athleticism, A. The final rating is 81 points. The gap between them and Kojinji on the data panel is not very big, but Kojinji's class contributed a lot, so it also got an A. But anyone with a discerning eye knows that it was because Yuinji-san worked hard to get promoted to A, and then to save points. And if the interests of the class were used to kidnap him, he would definitely have done nothing on the spot, or even abstained from voting, thereby causing delays. Therefore, this senior who is excellent in other basic accessories is rated E in terms of class contribution. If she is not targeted by a hostile class and unable to play, then she chooses not to contribute. So he is probably a casual person like Kojinji-san. And the way she put her hands on her hips immediately gave people the impression that she was a female companion, Takahiraji. In this way, when there are clearly strong people in his class but they don't work hard, it's no wonder that Kiriyama-senpai chose to give up and join Nagamo directly. Although senior Fenghua suddenly proposed her own solo move, her classmates just looked at her and gave up immediately. So this is your solution, Horikita asked. That's more or less what it means, Oreki-san. If you want to solve the dilemma of Class B of the 3rd grade, one of them is like this. Although someone is at the bottom, as long as someone gets the first place, the negative plus score will be 0. But to do this you either need to have strong enough classmates, or you need to use a lot of points to buy them. It's similar to the operation in the forest exam. But it's a pity that 3rd year Class B can't afford this money, Oreki said. And they can't even come up with the lowest price of 40 million, which is to directly buy the students of Class A of the 3rd grade. Not far away. There was no one around Kiriyama anymore, but Neun and Kiriyama were standing together. So, 3rd grade Class B has completely lost the opportunity to be promoted to Class A, Kiriyama said to Nagamo. And you know it too, Nanyun said. If you betray me, what will happen to you? Tongshan. I see. After this uninhabited island exam is over, Neun will give him 10 million as long as he gets points. Over the past 2 years, he himself has saved close to 2 million. Although he is still 800 short of being promoted to A, the total of the 3rd grade. Plus some from work. Then he was given 1 million in advance. So overall, it is still possible to be promoted to Class A for 20 million. The commotion in the 3rd grade ended quickly. And the boat that picks up the 1st graders is also back. Oreki and the others only need to wait for the boat to stop before they can board the boat and head to the designated landing point. The order of boarding is also in ABCD order. Although it is very convenient to move alone, it is still difficult for a girl to move alone, so when you get the permission to form a team, you can try to form a team, Oreki said. Horikita-san is a solo player, which is a group that has been determined at school. According to the exam rules announced by Mr. Majima, completing the project on the fourth day will release the permission to form a large group, so if you get that permission, Horikita-san can still form a team with others. For example, we can team up with Ibuki. Oreki-san provided a good candidate. Why Ibuki? Why? Because you are not very understanding of people, and Ibuki is generally an honest person, and he also behaves badly in interpersonal relationships. At the same time, she becomes a police officer even in the future and is a reliable person. So there is absolutely no problem in teaming up with her or something like that. Just as Oreki-san was thinking about how to explain, a girl with short hair suddenly rushed over. Got you. But the other party was not looking for Oreki, but Horikita-san, who was beside Oreki. Ibuki. Let's compete in this exam, Ibuki said. You are a solo player, but my teammate is Shiina. She is responsible for taking care of the supplies purchased on the ship. So she doesn't take much action. This way I will be alone, Ibuki said. So we can compete with each other. Let's compare the rankings of this exam and compare based on the scores. In other words, Ibuki came to challenge Horikita-san. I got anecdotal information from Kushida-san that when Ibuki meets Horikita-san in the elevator in the morning, he will take the initiative to say hello. Although there was basically no response from Horikita-san. But he persisted. This made Kushida wonder if Ibuki had any purpose for Horikita. Then I put some effort into coming up with some words. Ibuki ran the 100-meter race with Horikita during the sports festival. Horikita-san defeated her by a small margin, which made her a little unconvinced. So it became like this. Only. Ibuki, do you really want to compete with Horikita-san in this exam? Do you know the exam rules? For example, basic movement requires all members of the group to reach the top 3 together to get bonus points. Therefore, for students with good mobility, soloing is very cost-effective. If you arrive in charge, you will get bonus points and 1 basic point. And you yourself said that if Hiri-san wants to stay behind to take care of supplies and make money, then it is impossible to follow you to check in basic movement, so even if you are the first to arrive at the corresponding designated area, you can only just got 1 point. So you have to compete based on your score? Horikita-san also looked at Ibuki in surprise. Have you not read the exam rules? Horikita said. Rules? Ibuki frowned. It seems like this. There really aren't many people in Class C who can use their brains, and Hiri-san probably gave up on explaining. Of course, there is another reason. Shiina-san only cares about money. Therefore, I am not interested in the worthless rankings in the middle after the top 3 and the bottom 5 have been confirmed. I was asked to work hard because they were in the same group, so as long as Ibuki could score points, then if she went to the designated area once or twice to increase her presence, it would not count as a waiver or 0 points. That's it anyway, Ibuki said. Then turned and left. Ringtone. Horikita-san raised his left hand and rested it on the elbow of his right hand. The boat Ibuki is heading to is the starting point of F6. One of us is on the west side and she is on the east side. We probably won't meet her again. A little bit relieved, Suzun said. No. Usually if you say something like this, it is likely to be effective. Besides, Ibuki didn't understand the situation at all. She didn't even know that I didn't want to fight her, Suzun added. Oreki. No, when you understand it that way, you don't see yourself. Oreki-san feels that Horikita-san can be quite stiff sometimes. However, before the exam starts, you can still give her a gift. Then, come and shake hands, Oreki-san said suddenly. Suzun was puzzled. But she had shaken hands with Oreki-san a lot, so there was no problem in doing it again. It was just that he held Oreki-san's hands together. Suzun discovered something unusual. It seems that the body becomes incredibly light and airy. It's like getting the best energy. At this moment, Horikita-san was stunned. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 545. The impression of asking Sakura-san also reappeared in my mind. Hey, after shaking hands with the opposite sex, my body feels incredibly comfortable. Ask me, how should I put it? It must be because your bodies probably like each other very much. Because I am the one I like, even a little touch of skin will make me excited. But before Horikita-san could feel it, Oreki-san had already turned around. Because at this time, the boat that picked up the first-year students had docked, and Oreki-san also got on the boat. His initial location is a 6. The boat to meet the starting point of a 6 has already arrived. There are 12 routes in total and 12 starting points. When arriving at the boat, Oreki discovered that the school did not have any rules about queuing, so students were allowed to sit down as they liked. The boat has 55 seats. But the number of students in their A6 initial area is not very large. So the seats are free to sit. Unfortunately, there are relatively few students from Class A at this starting point, and Oreki-san is not the kind of person who likes to chat with others, but he still has an acquaintance sitting in the boat. She is a girl from Class D in the 2nd grade. The other person has long brown hair and seems to have good taste. Because we are sitting next to each other, we can smell the faint fragrance coming from the other person's body. And this fragrance is a high-end perfume that Sakayanagi once recommended. Of course, her recommendation was hoping he would buy it for her. Only. This is not a good thing, Arisu. If you keep staring at me, you won't get any useful information, Oreki-san said. Oreki-san. Matsushita-san seemed to be a little uncomfortable in contact with him. There is nothing we can do about it. Matsushita-san is Oreki-san's informant in Class D. And this was also the beginning of her being hit. She hid her strength and felt that if she didn't hide her strength, she would at least be assigned to Class A. Only after coming into contact with Oreki-san, this sense of superiority was defeated. The students in Class A are so scary. But today is not about being in isolation. I'm just curious, Matsushita said. Oreki-san was shaking hands with Horikita-san just now, right? She uses it, right? Rather than right? In other words, I saw that scene. And all the students in the school also know that the super cute student council president Yuzusaka Yanagi has a high-profile relationship with his classmate Houtarou Oreki. So, there is indeed something wrong with Oreki-san, his boyfriend, being too close to other girls. Only. Horikita-san and I are friends, Oreki said. That's right. Matsushita nodded, but continued. I thought it was true love. Oreki looked over. Don't look like that. The other party said. I just happened to witness that scene, and that's how my father saw my mother. Is it? Then the relationship in your family is very harmonious. However, what I want to say is. Matsushita-san said, Horikita-san, although everyone said that it is almost impossible to imagine her being in love. But it always felt like she was already in love. I am a little concerned about your future development. Saying this, Matsushita-san quickly stood up and walked to another seat. She formed a team with a classmate named Inokashira and a boy named Tamura. After forming a team, 2 or 3 people in the group had the same schedule, so now they naturally have to go to their own place. The group is there. It's just that Oreki-san is sitting in the same position. Thinking about Matsushita-san's conversation. The other person is a smart person. I saw that the relationship between him and Horikita-san couldn't be explained by words like friends, so I pointed out that he was riding 2 boats. So how to deal with the current situation? Oreki feels that Matsushita-san doesn't need to worry. Because I can leave it to Ayanokaji-san. Diddy. It was just at this time that a sound came from the walkie-talkie I carried with me. I have disembarked, the other party's voice came out. I still need a little time here. I will go to your place after getting off the ship, Oreki-san said. 5 minutes later, the boat picking up the students stopped, and the students disembarked in order of their seats. But even with this starting point, everyone's route is different. And according to the rules of the exam, designated areas will be announced 4 times a day. Arrival times are from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., and from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. The time now is 8:45. The designated areas for the first day and the last day are 3 times. So, there is no prompt on the tablet yet, but around 9 o'clock it will show the location of the designated area you want to go to. But, unlike other students, Oreki-san checked the map and headed to a starting point. Location D3. This was the initial starting point that Sakayanagi Arisu was assigned to. When Oreki-san arrived, little Princess Sakayanagi was alone. "Where's Kamuro-san?" Oreki asked. Sakayanagi was the only one holding the cane at the scene. Both the luggage and Kamuro-san were gone. Sakayanagi Arisu formed a group with Kamuro-san and Hashimoto-san. So the schedule for the same group is the same. Hashimoto's words were okay, but it was a bit strange that Kamuro was not by Itaeji's side. "Kamuro-san, I arranged for her to do other things," Sakayanagi said. "Other things?" So, when Oreki carried Sakayanagi to area D6 of the material base, he saw Kamuro-san setting up Sakayanaga's tent with an expressionless face. "It's really hard work." Chapter 250. Kamuro-san, fortunately, Sakayanagi is not looking here. Oreki-san hugged Yuzu Sakayanagi. "Do you want to use the ability recovery?" "Yes." After doing so, Oreki noticed that Sakayanagi-san raised his head to look at him in surprise. Seems a little confused. Sakayanagi-san is puzzled, but if she doesn't understand, she doesn't understand. She doesn't hate physical contact with Oreki-san. And Oreki-san was satisfied. Very good, there is still no problem with her body and she is in the healthiest state for her. But even so, she cannot be allowed to act as she pleases. According to the map, 10 numbers are set horizontally and vertically to divide the uninhabited island into 100 areas. About 20 of them are seawater and will not be used, but the remaining 80 or so areas are each nearly 1 kilometer long and wide. Coupled with the mountain roads and forests, it is difficult to walk. Then ordinary movement takes more than half an hour or even an hour to cross. So Oreki carried her to area D6 of the material base. This is the stronghold of the school. There are teachers who are responsible for selling supplies, providing free charging services and replacing faulty bracelets. But next to the school tent is the supplies department run by Class C of the 2nd grade. The school's supplies require double points, but theirs is more direct, not charging points, but directly charging money. The top 3 and last exams have been determined. If there are any remaining material points, they cannot be exchanged for cash, so it is better to use them directly to purchase cash. And the method used is also very simple. Just write an IOU and sign. You can return to school to redeem specific private points. And they were probably still very busy carrying supplies. You can vaguely find Shiina-san among them, but she is very smart. She was responsible for recording and registering, and she looked busy while holding a small notebook, so no one noticed that she was fishing. Then, at a very close distance, a girl with long purple hair and 3 hairpins could be seen installing the tent. The tent installed by Kamuro-san is different from the single-person tents and sleeping bags that the students received respectively, but is similar to the large tent that can be used by 6-8 students in the uninhabited island exam last year. Sakayanaga's health is not good, so even if he takes the exam, he will probably have to stay here in the supplies department. So, Kamuro-san is really reliable. Oreki-san walked over and said. It looks a little hard. The divine room. If you know she's having a hard time, come and help her. Instead of just watching. Thinking about this, Kamuro-san immersed himself in his work. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 546. But when fixing the tense nails, she found that the screws could not be tightened. And after trying continuously, I found that my strength was not enough. While I was thinking this, a hand reached out and Oreki-san came to help. Oreki squatted down and pressed the fingertips of his left hand on top of the screw. However, he didn't need a hammer. The screw sank in as if it was pressed by a strong force. And he quickly completed the fixation of the screws in the other 3 directions. Kamuro-san then crossed his arms and placed them on his elbows. Because she is no longer needed at this time. By the way, boys are indeed very powerful. It was obvious that Oreki Houtarou looked like a fair and handsome guy. Although he ran very fast, he didn't expect to be so powerful. And even though I was working, I didn't sweat at all, and my neck was still as beautiful as before. Kamuro-san thought to himself. The divine room. Wait a moment. Kamuro-san suddenly reacted. What was he doing to end up staring at Houtarou Oreki? And this scene seems to have happened before. The divine room. Kamuro-san then glanced back at Sakayanagi Yuzu. In the past, when I was in the cafeteria, I looked at Oreki twice, and then she was kicked away by Sakayanagi. So the scene just now may have entered Sakayanagi's eyes. Because she teamed up with Sakayanagi, as a teammate, she had the requirement to spend close to 14 days with each other. So, will he be bullied? Kamuro-san felt uneasy for a moment. But Sakayanagi Yuzu didn't pay attention at this time. She held the walkie-talkie and checked the tablet. The students in the class have already started taking action as planned. Oreki-san and Takaharaji-san from class A both received trial card, additional, leading and insurance equipment prepared by their classmates. According to everyone's understanding, what class A students need is to help them get into the top 3. What is needed now is to form a team to explore the terrain of the entire island. The purpose is that if the 2 of them are ranked low or encounter obstacles from other classes, they can attack quickly. Therefore, the most important thing now is to understand the terrain thoroughly for subsequent support. Sakayanagi got a walkie-talkie that cost 20,000 material points. Walkie-talkies can transmit information over long distances. It is very convenient equipment. But it's not invincible. The walkie-talkie stated that the longest distance was 8 kilometers in diameter. We are currently at the material base, area D6. If we use a walkie-talkie from here, we can only reach more than 20 areas in terms of coverage. Therefore, we need to consider how to arrange the students in the class to be on duty, to take on the work of correspondence, and to prepare a mobile team suitable for blocking or rescuing. During these processes, some students also need to complete a certain number of basic movements and questions so that the rankings will not fall too far behind, etc. In other words, Sakayanagi Yuzu is actually doing a very serious job. Kamuro-san looked at Sakayanagi Yuzu. Although Sakayanagi has always been bullied or arranged to do work, she also admitted that Sakayanagi is very suitable for this kind of leadership-like job. Then I'll entrust you with the next step. The boy's voice suddenly sounded next to him. Kamuro Maesumi also noticed that Oreki Houtarou had stood up, and he walked towards Sakayanagi Arisu with a bottle of mineral water. And it was obvious that she had just brought this bottle of water over, hadn't opened it yet, and was going to drink it for herself. So, this man will not pity her, but will use her like a tool. What a hateful guy. He is a perfect match for Yuzusaka Yanagi. So Kamuro-san, who suddenly became in a bad mood, began to lay out brand new, unused garbage bags at the bottom of the tent. After staying on an uninhabited island for 14 days, it would be very uncomfortable to sleep on the super hard floor all the time. So it will be much more comfortable if you put some cushions on it. These are the life tips provided by Ichino-san, as well as the experience of last year's uninhabited island. Oreki-san walked towards Sakayanagi. Sakayanagi took a small notebook and began to calculate, and then began to sort out the map of the uninhabited island. The information on the tablet is limited, and students need to confirm the specific situation themselves. For example, there will be a jungle marked on the tablet, but whether the road in the jungle is easy to walk, and whether you will encounter a snake nest or the like need to be considered. I haven't finished the personnel arrangements yet. Sakayanagi saw the mineral water that Oreki-san put on the table. She stayed under an umbrella on the beach, and Oreki-san matched her with a chair for resting. Make sure she doesn't feel too tired. But Xiaoyuki clicked on the tablet. Also, the time is now 9 o'clock, Sakayanagi said. All the students have already gone to the island. A red dot appeared on her tablet. This means that the school has designated an area. You need to arrive within 2 hours. At the same time, if all members of the team arrive, the top 3 teams will receive an additional 10 points, 5 points, and 3 points. And their respective designated areas have begun. The area is designated 4 times a day, 3 times by the school, and there are rules. The 4th time is random, but there are only 3 times on the first day and the last day. Kamuro-san was in a group with her, but all the students in Class A except Kojinji and Oreki-san were assigned to patrol the island. So most students don't have to bother with the designated areas today. Students in Class A are not required to score points today. But Oreki-san was not asked. So can he not get points now? It's not urgent, Oreki-san said. You know that too, right? I'm not doing this for first place. This is of course, because all the second year and first year students who have hitchhiking item cards have all bet on Kojinji. As long as Yuanji-san gets private points in this special exam, everyone will get the same amount. Certainly. These students are just a cover-up. They have sold their own prop cards, but the prop cards can only be used by one person, so they need to occupy the quota. Although you participate in betting, you are only completing the agreement signed at the beginning. And Kosakalu still knew about this. Therefore, the person who wants to take first place is Kojinji. In this way, both emotionally and logically, Oreki-san doesn't need to get first place. But that's what Takahiraji-san said, Sakayanagi said. Students have already reacted. Kato-san and he were traveling on the same route, but he left in the opposite direction to the designated area that he just appeared. This is indeed something to be aware of. Takahiraji is a very casual person. If there are not enough prizes or something that makes him feel satisfied, then he will not take action. As for last year's uninhabited island, for him, if it weren't for the fact that he could raise points through Class D, then he would just fish it out, maybe even play it for a while, and then give up. But now, most of the free rides are bets on him, so will he really go all out? It's hard. After all, he always felt that he was a genius and everyone else was just a mortal. He doesn't like to abuse food. Of course, it doesn't mean that he will do nothing after being promoted to Class A. On the contrary, he will do something to prove his excellence. So, you may be fishing now, probably hoping to get ahead and overtake at the last moment. But this is his self-confidence, but the reality is that if the front is too proud, even if the chance is small, he may be surpassed by others. Once Takahiraji fails to win first place, the assets of Oreki-san who bet on him will shrink. So, at least, let him take action from the beginning, and then score enough points. By then, it won't matter whether he is fishing or not. So how to drive Jiyuan Temple? It seems I have to end up, Oreki said. Rather, isn't it that Kosakalu said these words to him, to convey this meaning? So Oreki-san started to set off. A request for designated Area 8 ahead was also received on his tablet. But he was not walking towards the designated Area 8. On the contrary, he was walking in the opposite direction to the east. Is it really safe to simply arrange for Oreki-san to chase Jiyuan-san? Came a voice. The other party also came to Sakayanagi. Besides, it seems that you didn't tell Oreki-san the location of Takahiraji Temple just now. This is Hiri Shiina-san. The classmates in the class were still carrying supplies, and Shiina-san was only taking notes. In fact, she had been paying attention to the conversation between Oreki-san and Sakayanagi. Because if Kojinji-san doesn't try to score points, it would be very fatal, wouldn't it? She also made all the first-year students bet on Takahiraji-san. Then, based on the prerequisites for Jiyuanji's classmate to win first place, she can get points as reward. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 547. Even calculated a bill. But the exam has just started, is Kao Yuanji classmate not safe? So this is an urgent matter for Hiri, so naturally it is important here. So I immediately came to President Sakayanagi to get information. At the same time, we can also get some bargaining chips, otherwise Jiyuanji-san probably wouldn't be so interested. Hiri-san provided a plan. I don't think so, Sakayanagi said. Oreki-san can find Kojinji. And Oreki-san is collecting points, there is no need to reduce it. I also need a lot of points to prepare, Arisu said. Oh. That's it? So what do you want to do to collect so many points? Is there anything that requires spending a lot of points? As Oreki-san's dog, Hiri knew that President Sakayanagi was the chairman's daughter. So President Sakayanagi is actually a rich man, so when money is needed, won't the chairman provide it? Hiri-san felt confused. Oreki-san was looking at his tablet, which had a map of the uninhabited island. It includes the area you are in, and then the specific route to XX area. But it's like what Sakayanagi is doing. A map is a map, but in reality it is not. On the map, there are only small rivers, but in fact, the average student needs to consider whether to swim across them. But he didn't come here to sort out the map, but to find Jiyuan Temple. So how to find Jiyuan Temple? Isn't this a second-year junior? Oreki-san was about to set off, but a voice came from a tree. This sound line made an impression on Oreki-san. Because this is the sound that can make third-year Kiriyama-senpai shut down. He is the person who proudly stated on the ship that he wanted to do a solo but was unwilling to work hard for the class. And Oreki-san looked upward. I found that Kiriyuan maple was standing directly on the trunk of a tree about 7 or 8 meters high, and then she hugged the tree with her left hand and said hello cheerfully. Savage, no, how to describe it? It gives him the feeling of a female version of Kojinji. Chapter 251 Kushida's plus version of Hashinomi-ya, I'm going to destroy Chibashira. Oreki-san came here to look for Kojinji, but he was not looking for someone with the same personality as Kojinji. This is already the time to start heading toward basic movement. But your actions seem to have been deviating from the course, the senior said. It's still like that Aguilera in my class who just gave up on the exam. And as she said this, she moved very quickly and slid down from the trunk and branches of the tree in 2 seconds. Like a very clever cat. Then he stood in front of Oreki-san. You and I have the same itinerary, right? But Oreki-san asked back. And now, senior, why don't you just go to Area 8 and check in basic movement? Senior, since she is a solo player, as long as she goes there, there is a high probability of bonus points for the top 3, Oreki said. It's a little tempting, senior sister Fenghua said. But I don't have this interest in bullying ordinary people. Because other groups require 2 or 3 people to arrive to get bonus points, but I can get points by acting alone. It seems very unfair and cannot test my strength, Kiryuan Fenghua said. Oreki. Then you are great. Have self-confidence, and then disdain to bully ordinary people. So what do you think of Nagamo-senpai, senior? Oreki asked. Nanyuan, senior sister Fenghua tilted her head. I don't like that man, but you actually said Naun. In other words, you are the one that the other girls call the disciples Haibang. She seemed to have remembered it. It's Houtarou Oreki. Oreki-san corrected him. This senior, like Nanae-senpai, doesn't remember other people's names. Oh, Oreki Houtarou, said Maple Blossom Senpai. You're quite interesting. This is the first time I've seen Nagayun being tricked so badly. Last year he actually had no money to eat. Don't have money to eat? Has Nagamo-senpai also fallen to this level? But how do you know this? Oreki said. He still knows that Senior Naun is more shameless. Because I didn't have money to eat at that time, senior sister Fenghua said. I don't like saving. Oreki. This is very speechless. But you are quite interesting, senior sister Fenghua said. I don't like Nagamo. Nagamo uses intimidation and coercion to dominate the entire grade and then make himself excellent. And I don't like this. I prefer to be evaluated by myself than by the class and the group. So you are a lone wolf. But this kind of lone wolf is probably different from Horikita-san. Horikita-san just looks aloof and is not used to it and feels there is no need to get along with others, while you are completely disdainful. Although I feel like I haven't had much contact with the senior. But this kind of lone wolf is not impossible to use. I can provide you with some information, Oreki said. It can make seniors feel that they won't bully others. They may even be willing to challenge. Oh, senior sister Fenghua seemed to be a little moved. That is, this time the exam on the uninhabited island may be destroyed by evil teachers, so someone needs to take care of it. Can I entrust you with such an important task? Junior Oreki asked. It took about 5 minutes for Oreki-san and Maple-senpai to separate. Senior sister Fenghua continued to climb the tree and left the area. And Oreki continued on his way to find Juyunji's classmates. He did not obtain the location of Kojunji from Kosake Anagia, but it was not difficult to find Kojunji. Because Gao Yuanji is not the kind of person who immediately fishes after agreeing to something, he is the kind of person who claims to be excellent, and then he will be the best, so he may fish in this exam, but I will also be confident first. Make sure that even if you attack in the end, you won't fail. So the only place where he will appear is there. Center Tower. When we came to this uninhabited island last year, the school did not unfold the entire uninhabited island map, but only divided about 1/2 of the area for the students. Search for a stronghold, then use the leader card to score points, and then guess each other's leader. Among them, there is one stronghold that Juyuan Temple is very concerned about, or in other words, he came there from the beginning. That is located in the center of the island. Sitting on the passenger ship, you can also see the white central tower through the deck. From the central tower, you can see the direction of the stronghold. Then there are other areas of the island. The previous Juyuan Temple focused on strongholds, so it did not pay much attention to other unopened areas. But that is the highest point of the island and the observation deck with the best view. Observing from there is much more convenient than Arisu arranging for students to go on a field trip to confirm. Not to mention that Juyunji's physical fitness is very good, and he walks on an unusual path. He can also grab the vines between those surprising large tree trunks and fly around like a savage. With this thought in mind, Oreki-san went to the central tower, and then found Kojunji Temple, which he was still looking at from the top. Kojinji heard the footsteps and turned around. Hey, isn't this Oreki-san? Wearing a red sportswear and simply carrying a small backpack, Kojinji Rokusuk raised his left hand to say hello to Oreki-san. Let me think about it, why are you here? In other words, that's it, Gao Yuanji said. If you pay attention, you can get the location of the island map. Indeed, occupying this point is equivalent to saving 60% of effort. But it's a pity. I won't give up the first place, Yuanji said. Then you are ready to fish, right? The students of class A prepared quite a lot of supplies for Yuan Temple. This includes tents. Therefore, the fact that Yuanji is now traveling lightly means that the tent has been nailed down and ready to be set up. Kosake Anagi is right to be worried. First place, Oreki-san said. When I came here, I met a senior sister named Giryuan Fenghua. She has a similar temperament to you. Oh. Kojinji just listened. Because he felt that Oreki-san was talking about more than just this. The opponent's athletic ability is very good, and he is probably the best among the third graders. I just always feel like I'm bullying her, Oreki-san said. So, Yuanji-san, are you willing to fight? From now until 8 o'clock in the evening on the 6th day. We will have a real duel, Oreki said. The rewards for the 4th day's topic will be the large group reward. On the 6th day, the tablet's GPS location search and score ranking functions will be opened. Therefore, the specific scores during this period can be queried at that time. I see, Kojinji understood. I am afraid that Oreki-san came to the central tower not just to obtain the map of the island, but also to declare war on him. It is not that simple for Yuan Temple to agree to a solo and at the same time aim to get first place. On the one hand, he has his own considerations. I jumped up from Class D. Although I am used to being casual, there are many conveniences in Class A, so there is no need to have conflicts with everyone in the class. On the other hand, he was also thinking that since there was such a thing as the top 3, would Oreki-san also compete with him this time? After all, the opponent is also equipped with an additional trial item card. The instructions also aim for the top 3. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 548. He had misjudged the sports festival before. At first, he just thought that this kind of sports festival was bullying, but the subsequent competition between the student council president Horikita Manabu and Oreki Houtarou made him feel amazing. Although President Horikita has graduated and left, Oreki-san, who is as good as President Horikita, is still in school, right? So he is also looking for opportunities to compete with each other. Therefore, I'm afraid that if Oreki doesn't come to him, he will also declare a challenge to him. Just think this way. You're quite interesting, Gao Yuanji said. This is the first time I have encountered someone who dared to challenge me. Then I'll take it as your promise, Oreki-san said. And I just came from the designated area 8. Oreki-san's initial area is a 6, and if the designated area is a 8, it's not very far. And now nearly 20 minutes have passed, so the opponent may have really won the first place in the designated area for the first time today and then came here. Hee. Yuanji smiled. Then he slid down the stairs directly along the handrail of the stairs. Then, with unusual agility, he climbed directly to the nearest big tree, jumped between the tree trunks and quickly left here, and then headed to the designated area C5 received on his tablet. And this is when Yuanji directly responded with action. Watching the leaving figure of Kojinji-san, Oreki-san quickly stood in the center tower, and then recorded all the scenes that could be noticed in the center tower and printed them in his mind. Then, pick up the camera from your backpack. A photo was taken in one direction of the A8 area. Called up the system. Do you want to use teleportation? His teleportation home does not require any consumption of times. At first, he could only instantly travel to places he had visited, but later developed to the point where he could also travel to areas where he saw photos. So, of course what we have to do now is cheating. It takes time and energy to walk on the ground or shuttle between big trees by yourself without having to use plug-ins. Not energy efficient at all. In this way, after Oreki made his choice, he instantly felt a suction, and the figure had appeared 6 kilometers away, and then jumped from a big tree. Then we walked 200 meters forward according to the map. Era, the first student is here. Congratulations on getting the basic 1 point for basic movement. Because we are a single team, we won the first place in the group arrival, so we also received 10 extra points. The staff member in charge of this designated area is teacher Hashinomi Yachie from Class B, 2nd grade. She is Ichino-san's homeroom teacher. Her hair is a little light and she looks cute, giving her a superficial Kushida vibe. Oreki-san eavesdropped on the conversation between the 4 teachers, and he also understood that Hashinomi Yachie-sensei looked kind, sweet and a little rash, but was actually the plus version of Kushida-san. Then let me guess, you are Oreki-san, right? Probably realizing that no other students had arrived, the airy homeroom teacher walked directly towards Oreki. Teacher, please enter my information, and then I will leave, Oreki said. Although Hashinomi Yachie looks sweet, he deeply knows that Kushida-san is a troublesome person, and he knows very well that it is best not to have contact with this teacher. Because I'm afraid it's a more troublesome existence. But what caught Oreki-san's attention was the device she put aside. That's a code scanner. So the student's score is probably updated by scanning the QR code. It's not good to leave like this, but Hashinomi Yachie immediately showed a pitiful look. Similar to Kushida-san, they all seem to know how to use their weapons. And I can tell you a little secret about Ichino-san, Hashinomi Yachie said. Ichi-nose, why do you mention Ichi-nose? Because the other party seemed to have no intention of scanning the code, Oreki-san could only stay temporarily. Because Ichino-san fell in love some time ago, and I suspect that she likes you, Oreki-san, Hashinomi Yachie said. Oreki. So what does Ichino's love have to do with you? But Ichino-san is too angelic, and Oreki-san doesn't want to hurt her yet. Rather say, this teacher is a terrible person, and we should consider how to prevent Archangel Ichi-nose from being harmed by this teacher. Because she seemed to be using Ichi-nose directly as a chess piece just now. Teacher, can you scan the QR code for me? Oreki said. You are really cold. Hashinomi Yachie shook her head gently. Wait a little longer. At least a few more students must come over. Otherwise, if I scan the QR code for you and no one else sees it, I will be questioned as to whether I cheated. Is it? I heard some news in the library before, Oreki-san said. It's a conversation between teachers. Oh, Hashinomi Yachie winked cutely. Why is Hashinomi Ya-sensei targeting Chibashira-sensei? Oreki said. You hate her, don't you? And does she know this? Palace of Stars. Palace of Stars. Hashinomi Yachie's expression seemed to stiffen in an instant. But her voice is still very sweet. I hate it. How could I target Sae-chan? We are obviously friends. Hashinomi Yachie's expression became cute, but the next second, it turned dark. That guy, why should she gain happiness? Okay. As expected, the other party's mood suddenly became extremely bad. If she doesn't give him extra points for scanning the code, then let her feel sick first. Oreki-san has no mercy. P.S. Rua. Ask for free blades at the end of the month. Ying ying ying. Chapter 252. You actually fooled me, Gao Yuanji, you kid. Oreki-san has no mercy. But it was like accidentally encountering Kushida-san's darkened scene, kicking the railing and swearing. Kushida-san knows that she has to protect her disguise, so she is willing to make amends to prevent Oreki-san from revealing her dark side. So what about the current teacher Chie Hashinomiya? It went dark in a second. And this situation is actually not good. So will the other party do something like Kushida did to coerce her into not being able to tell her true identity? But this is not Kushida, and in terms of rank, he is probably a bit higher. Because the other party probably also realized that his state was not right. So it converged a little. Well, actually, I haven't gotten over what happened back then. Hashinomi Yachie quickly repaired herself. Xiao Sae and I are actually very good friends. This high school we attended together. And we all climbed up slowly from class D. Even arriving in the class I'm in now. In other words, we climbed from class D to class B, and this was a miracle in the history of the school at that time. All the students are working hard to compete in class A, and they are even full of confidence. Of course, as one of them, I am the same, Hashinomi Yachie said. But ruined by Chibashira. She suddenly became mentally retarded and turned against the entire class, causing the class to lose the chance to compete with class A. In the end, we graduated as class B, Hashinomi Yachie said. And Oreki-san, you are in class A, so you know, if you graduate from class A, your life will probably change. Otherwise, Yuanji-san wouldn't have spent the points to get promoted. For a chaebol like him, it doesn't matter what class he is in, but for ordinary people like us, this is a way forward. We can clearly see it, but it is not because of ourselves, but because we have been fighting teammates betrayed, and everyone fell. So, how could I still be smiling at Chibashira, Hashinomi Yachie said. And is this probably the reason why she turned dark instantly? Because of dissatisfaction with the past. Because my life was ruined by Chibashira. And this explanation, for Oreki, was half explained but not complete. Because if he is in the same class as Chibashira, and because Chibashira makes a mistake at the last critical moment, he loses the chance to attack class A. It's very infuriating. I always feel like it's more than that. So you guys have such a past, Oreki-san said. Then can you give me points now? Hashinomi Yachie. You are really insufferable. Hashinomi Yachie curled her lips and said. Wait until the next student arrives, and I will scan the QR code for you to increase your score. So Oreki-san walked to a tree and sat obediently leaning against it. Hashinomi Yachie did not come again. She returned to her original position. However, Oreki-san could feel Hashinomi Yachie's attention from time to time. When Oreki-san felt that the other party's gaze was a little too much, Hashinomi Yachie said at this time. Then now that we know our past. Maybe I'm still stuck in the past, and maybe that Chibashira guy is too. So, if she wants to buy you over to her, Oreki-san, I hope you can give her a heads up. In other words, you can inform me, Hashinomi Yachie said. Huh, Oreki-san looked surprised. Buy me over. And this kind of thing is actually false surprise. But it might actually happen. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 549. When he first entered school, Oreki-san received a mission, and one of the punishments was that Chibashira might spend points to drag him to Class D. So Chibashira is really capable of doing such a perverted thing. As a result, if you Hashinomi Yachie could predict this, I'm afraid you are also a woman with a strong temper. Chibashira's family still has some money. Hashinomi Ya didn't understand what he was arranging, but nodded to himself and explained. Although her points accumulation in school is not very good, she may be determined to use her family's money to top up her points. So, Oreki-san, this is a very scary thing. If you go to Class D, it will be like hell. So, if Chibashira wants to do this, you can come to me for help, and I will help, reported Hashinomi Yachiye said. Oreki. No. Although it is scary to be bought into Class D, it is also scary for you to be able to predict this and immediately think of reporting it. It was as if he was very obsessed with suppressing Chibashira. I can't forgive Chibashira's past actions, or, I still can't forgive other things. Think so. This is the basic mobile check-in point in the D8 area. A student's voice came. The first-year students who had set off earlier had already arrived. After a while, I also saw 2 third graders and then a second grader. Beep. The base of your score account will be moved by 1 point. The base of the score account's arrival will be moved by 10 points. Oreki took out his tablet, and Hashinomi Yachiye picked up the QR code scanner and gave Oreki-san's tablet serious points by scanning the QR code. It looks like nothing is happening. Oreki-san naturally ignored him. Because this guy is not normal either. At least Kushida-san, even if he was targeting Horikita-san, would not be so tangled up with him as Hashinomi Yachiye. For it. Just when Oreki-san was thinking this, he suddenly thought that in the future, Kushida-san would not give up on Horikita. He even took pleasure in cuckolding Horikita-san. And doing this is equivalent to Kushida-san compensating for his own life. Tied with them. From this perspective, it seems that he understands the obsession of the Star Palace. Because if Chibashira was at the important stage of promotion to Class A in the last class, he would be stupid and the whole class would lose the chance to attack Class A. Although Hashinomi Yachiye was one of them and was implicated. But she herself said that she and Chibashira had been friends since childhood, that is, best friends. Chibashira ruined the whole class's chance of being promoted to Class A, and also ruined the chance of her best friend being promoted to Class A. Therefore, in Hashinomi Yachiye's view, boiling the teapot is foolish even if it means severing the friendship between best friends and ruining their future. Therefore, she does not allow this kind of thing. She didn't want to admit that she had been given up by Chibashira. Is that so? Oreki-san has never understood girls' friendship. It suddenly felt more complicated. Beep. The base of your score account will be moved by 1 point. Oreki-san was about to leave when he suddenly noticed that Ayanokaji-san also took out his tablet. Gained 1 basic movement point. But he is not alone, he teamed up with Yukimura Terahiko and then Ike Kanji. Only the first 3 groups to arrive will receive additional rewards. Because Yukimura Terahiko hasn't arrived yet, he can only get 1 point now. And Chi Kwanzi probably ran over and was sitting under the shade of a tree, drinking gulps of water. Among the first graders, there was a little commotion. That's when Hashinomi Yachiye continued to scan the code and gave an additional 5 points to the first-year students who arrived in the second group, but there were still a few first-year students who found it unacceptable. We still have 1 team member who cannot arrive for the time being. So if there are 3 of us, can it be counted as arriving? A first grader started asking Hashinomi Yachiye. And this first-year student, Oreki-san, knew him as an honest schoolgirl with long blonde hair. Nanace Tsubasa. Nanace Senpai seems to have formed a group of 4 with 3 other students. This is a preferential treatment for first-year students, and the school has given them a supplement in number. But this is just a general idea. There is strength in numbers, but the content of the exam is basic movements and topics. Basic moves require the entire group to reach them in order to be counted. Only the top 3 teams can score points. As for the topic, it is restricted. Generally speaking, only 1 person from a group is allowed to participate. Therefore, the increase in the number of people in the team not only means that there is no human C strategy, but also becomes a drag. Just like now, there are 3 people in the 4-person group. Obviously they were the second group to arrive, but because the 4th person didn't arrive, they could only see other groups arriving because they were full, and then got points. In other words, can it be regarded as that team member abstaining, the girl among the two first-year students who teamed up with Nanace Senpai said. The two first-year students who team up with Nanace Tsubasa are not strangers either. It's Oreki-san's wool. Oh no. They are Utsunomi Yasan and Haru Sakurako, who came up from Class C. The one who directly said that the fourth team member abstained from voting was Haru Sakurako. Utsunomi Ya is very powerful in terms of momentum, but not as good as Haru Sakurako in terms of thinking and dialogue. And he was also watching Hashinomi Yachiya seriously. Only if the team member wishes to abstain, or is physically unfit to continue the exam, and does not have an insurance prop card to relieve it, then it can be considered an abstention, teacher Chie Hashinomi Ya explained. So, even if the three of you agree that the fourth person will abstain, it will be useless, Hashinomi Yachiya continued. And you may also encounter such trouble when it's time to work. A partner suddenly betrays you, or denies something he has promised, so it is necessary to prepare for the worst at the beginning. And words like this are akin to advice and experience. But to sum it up in one sentence, the team formation cannot be changed, and you can only suffer the consequences of teammates disconnecting and fishing. In this case, our exam will be meaningless, Utsunomi Ya said. Apparently. This is because I feel that the cooperation of the fourth team member is missing, so I can't get the extra team bonus points for basic movement and it feels boring. In other words, the first-year students also hope to get a ranking in this uninhabited island exam. And because he had already scored 11 points, Oreki-san left here. Because when you open the tablet, you can find that a topic has already appeared. The points for the topics are not as good as the basic moves, and the top 3 only have scraps such as 5 points, 3 points, and 1 point as bonus points. But you only get basic movement points 3-4 times a day. However, the subject can be completed 5-10 times a day. The points are less, but the frequency is high. You can still brush it. After all, Oreki-san is not really here to answer the questions. So you have to rush before Jyunji, or do the questions together with Jyunji, to give the other person the feeling that he has been working hard. In this way, after completing a total of 10 questions and completing basic movements, Oreki-san returned to. At this time, the sky was gradually getting dark. Welcome back, Oreki-kun. When Oreki returned, the surrounding sky had darkened. However, the D6 material stronghold seems to be very lively. You can see that the students of Class A have returned from an afternoon of patrolling and exploring the terrain, and are then having a barbecue. There are also some students from Class C stationed at the material base. As soon as Oreki-san came back, someone brought 2 skewers of small squid and handed them over. Thank you, Oreki said. The person who was so considerate just now was Hiri Shiina from Class C. Hiri-san was stationed there for a whole day, but she quite enjoyed it. In this kind of place, just like last year, I can live a leisurely life where I can sleep peacefully and have a bathroom. After all, there is plenty of supplies. Of course you can spend it. Only. I heard you went to study your questions. A man with hair parted in the middle came over. This is Ryuan-sha. How many points did you get? There were 3 basic moves and 10 tasks, and one of them was deliberately lost to Kojinji, Oreki said. The total is 33 add 5 x 9 add 3 equal 81 points. Is it? Lose on purpose? Then how do you ensure that Jyuan Temple can get first place? Long Yuan said immediately. If you score so many points, how can you ensure that Jyuan Temple is number 1? It turned out that this was what he wanted to say. I will start taking a rest today, Oreki-san said. I will only brush random basic movement points once a day. And the subject will no longer participate, Oreki said. But after today's encounter with Kojinji, he will fight for 6 days in a row with the attitude that I am challenging him. Does that mean he tricked Juyunji into running around for 6 days? Long Yuan smiled. Last year, when he was robbed of money by Oreki, he arranged for Gao Yuanji to come over and fake a fight with him, and then stabbed him to the student union. Then his 800,000 was lost directly. Although Houtarou Oreki is over the top, this is already recognized. But Gao Yuanji, that guy, so crazy and aggressive, actually ended up here today. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 550. Long Yuan was satisfied. In this way, everyone welcomed the first night on the uninhabited island. Oreki-san was lying in the tent and saw the beautiful starry sky twinkling. But in the girls' tent on the other side. Sakayanagi. Kamuro-san, have you completed what I asked you to do before? Ha! It's that thing, Sakayanagi Yuzu said. I asked you to send something to Oreki-san. Obviously several days have passed, but he didn't come to me at all. Won't come to you? Oh. This. She heard that it is difficult for boys and girls to control themselves after dating. Is this the case? So it's useless for you to tell her this. She has completed her assigned task. The choice is not hers. And Banliu, your body will run out of energy after just one use. It is recommended that you do not challenge casually. Kamuro-san was also thinking without mercy today. P.S. After reading the original work of practical teaching, I found that Chibashira and Hashinomi Yachiye were written wrong in the front. Majima is a student of Class A, and the number on the board is unknown, but Hashinomi Ya and Chibashira are both students of Class D, and because Chibashira destroyed Class D and climbed up to A, so he kept targeting Chibashira. Fix it here. It was changed to Chibashira and Hashinomi Ya from the same class. Otherwise, it would not be possible to explain why the Palace of Stars is so twisted. Chapter 253, Boost Points? What points boost? I didn't say I wanted to boost points. Life on an uninhabited island is not boring. As long as you have enough supplies, you can live a happy life. Somewhat similar to camping. And perhaps the most important thing is to have people around you who care. Banliu once said that when a couple is in love, even if they arrive at the destination early and wait for a long time, as long as they know they are waiting for each other, they will not feel the passage of time. In other words, as long as they are a couple passionately in love, there will be no problem. That's what he said. Don't you think the weather is a little hot? Oreki-san said. They were in the woods now, the sun was rising, and the light and shadow cast mottled shadows through the gaps in the leaves. Even though it hit my body, it still felt warm. It would be better to say that it is no longer warm but hot. The weather forecast that comes with the tablet has already indicated that the temperature at noon will rise to 31 degrees Celsius. And then hold hands in this heat. It's actually quite deadly. And now it's the second day. And the time came to 13:15. There will be 4 basic movement requirements every day, of which the first 3 are regular, but the 4th is random. The times are 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., and 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. So this is the time to check in at the 3rd basic movement today. It stands to reason that Oreki-san deliberately went to Takahiraji yesterday, and then made an effort, and even conducted a project with Takahiraji, in order to arouse the opponent's desire to fight and trick the opponent into scoring. Then you can feel free to fish. But Oreki-san also needs to do something. That is carrying Banliu-san to the designated area received on her tablet to check in. Her health is not good, and she needs to arrive at the designated area within 2 hours at the latest. Ordinary students may be able to travel in an hour or even an hour and a half, which is also stressful for her. So the only option is to carry her there. And it's not okay for her to not take the exam all the time. Even if her teammates go there, She won't have points deducted all the time, but she may still get 0 points without being deducted. So is there no solution? Some. One of them is to wait for the reward of forming a large group when the topic opens on the 4th day. And Itayanaga was well prepared. This time, Class A and Class B were cooperating in the exam. She did not team up with Itchy Nose, not because she didn't trust them, but she arranged for Itchy Nose and the others to do the necessary things. That is to ask Itchy Nose to increase her points. As long as Itchy Nose reaches the points and then obtains the permission to form a large group, she can then form a large group with her. Then Itchy Nose-san's points can be divided equally. It's a very convenient solution. At the same time, it is a bit of a loss for Itchy Nose-san, but only an archangel like her would accept such a proposal. So this is one of the options. Another plan is this: take her to sign in. As long as she reaches the designated area and her teammates also arrive, as long as she gets the top 3, all 3 of them will get extra bonus points. In this way, Oreki-san is taking Houtarou to get the score for this part. Itchy Nose is an archangel, and Oreki-san doesn't want to bully her too much. Beep. The base of your score account will be moved by 1 point. The base of the score account's arrival will be moved by 10 points. Because there were students in the same group as witnesses, Banliu got the points. Considering the hot weather, Oreki planned to take Itaiji back to the material stronghold in Area D6. But Banliu wanted to hold hands on the way back. Then something like this happened. It's a bit of a pity, Sakayanagi said. It's better to be more reserved, Oreki-san said. I don't think Principal Yu Cheng is such a friendly person, so he deliberately proposed not allowing students to cross the line, probably to target us. In other words, don't have excessive contact? Sakayanagi-san curled his lips. So, in such days, the 2nd, 3rd and 4th days of the uninhabited island passed. For Oreki-san and the others, this exam is not stressful. It's also very relaxing. But this is not the case for others. 3rd grader. Nanyunya. Nanyun has rich experience in dealing with school examinations. However, the scope of the exam this time was wider than that of the forest exam. Although 3 grades competed in the forest exam, the competition was based on grade, so the influence of a single class was not great. But now it is necessary for all students in the school to compete, choosing the top students and eliminating the last ones like the survival of the fittest. And the bottom 5 teams are ready. Therefore, the basic goal of students is to move forward. And Nanyun has control over the entire 3rd grade. So this time the exam also divided the team into a situation that was beneficial to myself and my class A. The rewards for the top 3 in the exam look pretty good. First place gets add 300 class evaluation points and add 1 million private points. Second place gets add 200 class evaluation points and add 500,000 private points. Third place gets add 100 class evaluation points and add 250,000 private points. But for him, there was no appeal. He saw from Oreki Houtarou how to get a lot of personal points from this barren examination. If the control is correct, about 32 million points will be recorded, although 10 million will have to be paid to Kiriyama, plus 3 million to buy Ajihara from Class B, but overall, it directly hit the final ambition of Class B in the 3rd grade, and then it can earn about 20 million yuan in income, which is very good. And 20 million is also a life-saving talisman for Nanyun. So what he cared about was not that he had the 3rd grade card and then arranged for the 3rd grade students to interfere with other lower grade students to increase their points, but that his target was Oreki Houtarou. Just wait for Oreki Houtarou to get the first place. Then he also got his 20 million life-saving charm. And on the first day, it was indeed the case. He arranged for several 3rd graders to keep an eye on Oreki Houtarou. There are only 12 routes in the school, and there are 6 people on the same route as Oreki Senpai. Not so lucky. but it can be used by 6 people. Can be used as a sentinel. These 6 people were specifically watching Oreki to see how he was doing. The first day was very good. The opponent was unstoppable and scored an eye-catching 81 points. Very scary. Even if Nanyun thought about getting points by himself, he might not be able to achieve it. Because even if someone is arranged to block Oreki Houtarou, the opponent is very fast and can directly bypass the interceptor. So Oreki Senpai is really trying to trick people again. Junior Oreki's physical fitness was so strong that he had already decided to take first place, but he was told to bet on Kojinji. I just don't want him to get a huge amount of points along the way. As for deliberately contacting the 3rd grader, he must have known that the 3rd grade was under his control, and then bought 2 ride-hailing cards, and then deliberately bet on Yuanji just to use a blind trick on him. What a black-hearted guy. So Nagamo felt lucky for his temporary choice to bet on Houtarou Oreki. But things got a little strange the next morning.